Hey, super scientists, we're looking at molecular biology lab notebook, and we're starting with MB1 photosynthesis. Let's look at a couple terms really quickly and just make sure that you guys understand what these terms are. You may have heard them in the past, or they may be new terms for you. Autotroph and heterotroph. So your stem, auto means self, hetero means different, and troph means feeding or nourishment. So an organism that makes its own food, such as a plant, is going to be an autotroph. An organism that consumes food, it has to find food from other sources, like people, are going to be heterotrophs. So in this section, we're going to be specifically looking at photosynthesis and autotrophs. So what is photosynthesis? This is probably something that you have talked about in the past, and we're going to look at the chemistry behind photosynthesis in a little bit more detail. So the stem, photo, is light, syn means together, and the refers to being put together. So photosynthesis is going to be putting light together with a few other items, and that will produce glucose through the process of photosynthesis. So we know that plants go through photosynthesis. Algae, cyanobacteria, also will go through photosynthesis. So it's going to be using photo, it's going to be using light, specifically from the sun, as well as a couple other things, carbon dioxide and water. Nearly all living things are going to either directly or indirectly use energy from the sun as their energy source. So that refers to most living things, not exactly all living things, because remember at the bottom of the ocean where it's pitch black, there are some things that are going to be chemosynthetic, which is a similar kind of process, just not using sunlight. So most living things, though, are going to be using sunlight as their energy source. So let's look at an example. We have the sun here, and it is our source of energy. The energy is then passed to grass in this example, and the grass will go through photosynthesis. So the grass is our autotroph. A zebra is going to eat the grass, so a zebra is a heterotroph. So the energy is then passing from the sun to the grass to the zebra. And then an organism that might eat a zebra could possibly be a lion, for example. So the energy is then passed from the zebra to the lion. So even though the lion and the zebra don't go through photosynthesis, they're going to be obtaining that energy that has gone from the sun to the grass through this food chain. So there are two steps in photosynthesis. So the first thing is going to be capturing the sun's energy, and this is going to be done in the chloroplast. Primarily the chloroplasts are on leaves in these plants because the leaves have the largest surface area in order to capture the most sunlight. These are some examples of plant cells under a microscope, and this darker kind of structure, this is our chloroplast. So it looks kind of like a odd football shape. So chloroplast in plant cells are going to be responsible for capturing sunlight. The next step that is taking place, again, primarily in the leaves, is going to be using that sunlight, that energy from sunlight, in order to make food. Now, the food is specifically glucose, sugar. So water and carbon dioxide are going to be used to produce glucose. Glucose is C6H12O6. That's the chemical formula for it. So this food that is produced is going to be our product in photosynthesis. Our reactants are going to be the things that the water, carbon dioxide, the things that the plant needs in order to grow. So plants are going to get the water by absorbing water through their roots, and then we'll get the carbon dioxide by taking in the carbon dioxide, that CO2 gas, through the stomata, which are tiny little openings on the underside of leaves. And then after the process of photosynthesis has taken place, oxygen is going to then exit the leaf through the stomata again. So the same place that is responsible for bringing in the carbon dioxide to the plant is responsible for releasing the oxygen. So this is our equation for photosynthesis. We're going to have 6 molecules of carbon dioxide plus 6 molecules of water. In the presence of light energy, will produce C6H12O6, or glucose sugar, as well as 6 molecules of oxygen. So the sugars are going to be used to carry out different functions in the plant cell. So our reactants are the things on the left-hand side, remember our chemistry, carbon dioxide and water, there's our 2 reactants. And our two products are glucose, which is sugar, that's the food that plants make, and oxygen. So let's talk about nitrogen really quickly. Nitrogen is an important element. It's very important to plants. So it helps plants to produce protein. So remember, protein is a necessary part of our diet, of the diet of heterotrophs. But autotrophs can't eat that nitrogen. So they need to be able to absorb that nitrogen through their roots. And it's going to usually be absorbed from the soil, from kind of a solution that's mixed with water that is absorbed through the roots. Nitrogen can get into the soil in a lot of different ways. It can be added to the soil by plant or animal matter, so decomposing matter. It can be added to the soil by bacteria that are called nitrogen fixing bacteria, like rhizobia bacteria. So those bacteria will specifically capture atmospheric nitrogen and then will convert it into these nitrates that can be used by plants. So nitrogen is very important because it's going to help plants to produce proteins. And proteins are important because proteins are used for cell growth and the repair of tissue. So let's take a look and wrap things up really quickly. So the process of photosynthesis is going to occur in primarily the leaves of the plants. So the chloroplasts are the organelle that is responsible for the process of photosynthesis. Energy from sunlight is necessary, water is necessary, and carbon dioxide. And I have a picture of a person right here because people, other animals, heterotrophs, are going to release carbon dioxide, and the carbon dioxide that we breathe out is taken in by plants for the process of photosynthesis. As a result, our products are going to be glucose, which is sugar, and oxygen. So that oxygen, we will then breathe it back in, and that process can start all over.